Details that we got yesterday on the Border Security, Asylum and Immigration Bill. Your government scrapped the Rwanda plan. This is all more details on your strategy to smash the gangs. But the number of arrivals was higher at the end of last year than it was the year before. Are you confident that you're doing enough and you're providing enough deterrence to the people that are making that perilous journey?
Well, you're absolutely right. We've scrapped that Rwanda scheme because when I chaired the Home Affairs Select Committee, we were really clear there was no evidence that that scheme was going to deliver on what the government had promised. And hundreds of millions of pounds was spent on something that basically resulted in no one being sent to Rwanda. So I think that that's very clear that the legislation that we're introducing is getting rid of that. We're putting 1,000 caseworkers in to deal with a backlog that built up because of that Rwanda scheme, because no one was being processed because they were going to go to Rwanda, and that never happened. We're also really going after the gangs, as you've just described, those serious organised criminal gangs who are causing this misery, who are getting people into those really unseaworthy boats to come across the channel. And we're using some of the powers that we've got around counter-terrorism. We're transferring some of those over so we can really go after those gangs and smash the gangs. That is really important. The Prime Minister talked about that in the Plan for Change last year. It's the Home Secretary who's also really looked at what powers we need. And also, of course, we've got the Border Command that's been introduced, and we want to beef up that position as well and make sure that can work as effectively as possible across government to tackle this problem.
Yeah, and clearly you hope that the measures that you put into place will help stop those gangs operating successfully, but you also need to stop people wanting to come in the first place, don't you? There are a huge number of people who are attempting to make that journey. The Tories say that the Rwanda plan was a disincentive. I mean, it's not clear what your disincentives are in this bill.
Well, just again to say, there was no evidence at all that the Rwanda plan was acting as a disincentive. And in fact, in the previous Parliament, the Permanent Secretary at the Home Office refused to sign off the Rwanda plan. He got the then Home Secretary, Priti Patel, to instruct him that he had to implement.
Okay, but what are your measures that will disincentivise people from coming and making that journey?
Well, one of the things that's been announced recently is about support in country to international development funding is really important to ensure that people feel that where they live, there are opportunities for them to get jobs and have opportunities in life. So I know the Foreign Secretary has been announcing additional funding for countries that may see people moving across the Mediterranean and coming up through Europe to stay in country. I think it was Tunisia that was announced earlier this week or even today. So I think the international development angle of this is important. And of course, we know previous governments, the Conservative government, cut the funding for international development, and that has consequences. So I think there are other things you can do. Go after the gangs, make sure you're investing in countries where people are travelling from. But the Rwanda scheme was a failure. It did not work, and it cost a huge amount of money, which we are redirecting now to go after the gangs and to go after those people who are causing this misery.
OK, I really want to let you go, but I just quickly want to get your thoughts on the anniversary of Brexit, 5 years since Brexit. You voted against it. Do you now think that it's been good for the UK?
Well, we are where we are, and I think the key thing that this government wants to do is to renegotiate that deal that was done. It wasn't a good deal, and I think even the leader of the opposition has said that they didn't really have a plan when they went for Brexit as to how to get growth into the economy. So we're about working with Europe to make sure we get the best deal possible for this country.
OK, well, Dame Diana Johnson, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed.